Hello and welcome to another edition of RedBeardShaves. Today I'm going to do another hardware review, but I also want to go over the cube because I had a lot of questions in the last video about how I use the cube and how I get it to work for me. But first, let's go over the gear. So in continuing with hashtag One Artist in October, I'm going to be using First Line Shave Blue Label today. Blue Line, excuse me. I'm using that on That Darn Rob brush, and look at that. Doesn't that look like just an ice cream cone ready to chomp down and eat for the summer? Look at that gorgeous lather. Smells so good. I'm going to be reviewing the Muhle R41 with a Croma Diamant blade, and then be going over the Cube 2.0, and this one is non-mentholated. So let's go ahead and get ready for this shave. So a lot of people had questions about the cube. They had not noticed about using water with it. And I have found that that is the key to using the cube. You need to add water to this. Water equals slickness, guys. With your soaps, with pre-shaves, even with pre-shaves oils, water equals slickness. You add that oil to your head or to your face, and then you add water. That equals slickness. That equals glide. That's going to give you a more comfortable shave. So I'm going to go ahead and wet the head. And all of this applies to head or face if you're a face shaver. And I'm going to get it good and wet. And then once I have it good and wet, I'm actually going to dunk the cube in the water. And then I'm going to rub it over my head. And these new cubes, and I know that the tube also does leave this black charcoal film over you. Now the ice cube is a non-charcoal version of the cube that is mentholated. I've heard, I do not have the ice cube, I have heard it is a little bit colder than the mentholated cube, but I do not know that for sure. So I'm just going to rub this around on my head, and then usually I'll get the little bit of a collection that's went around the edge, kind of rinse that off in the water, set it back on my dock, dip my hands in the water, take that little bit of collection, rub my hands together, dip it in the water again, and then I'll start working that into a gentle lather on my head. And I keep it nice and wet. Now you can do this before you prep your lather, and if you do so just before you start applying your lather, make sure you re-wet it. But this is what I have found to make the cube unleash its full potential, especially for slickness. Now, if you're using the cube, and right now it's the Cube 2.0, but if you have the current version of the cube, and you're going through your first pass, and your razor is getting clogged at all, then you are not adding enough water to your cube. So you'll know that on your next shave, you need to add a little bit more water, water that down some, because your razor should clean out easily when you go to rinse it out. So it's just as easy as that. And you can really do this with any pre-shave. So that's pretty good there. Now your hands are going to be uber slick, super, super slick. So give them a good rinse off. And then I'll dry them off on a towel before I grab my brush, or the brush is going to go flying. And then my head is still good and wet now. So I'm just going to start lathering it up. And even though I have a great lather built up already, this is a lather booster. So if you're using a premium soap, it's going to boost it even more. But if you have a soap that just doesn't lather that well or prep that well or give you a very good post-shave feel, this is where the cube is going to come in and help that perform even better for you. And that's where I really like to use the cube. Before I started making videos, when I was new to wet shaving, the cube really saved me when I was learning how to build lather. And then once I learned how to build my lather, and I was comfortable with that, I would always use it when I had extra growth and I wanted to make sure I wasn't whacking myself. Or if I had a subpar soap that I really, really enjoyed the scent, but it just did not perform at all the way I wanted it to, then I would add the cube. There is a lot of people that have been wet shaving for decades, and they use the cube on every single shave. So this isn't just something that just new wet shavers use just as a protective barrier. There's people that use this every single shave religiously. They stand by it. They say they won't use anything else. There's people that keep 2 or 3 of these in their den at all times because that's what they're going to use. They love it that much. But the key to that is water. You have to add water. Water equals slickness. Water equals slickness. Look at all this lather. Look at that. Just crazy amounts of lather. So today I'm shaving with a Muhle R41. It is a very aggressive razor. Typically, I don't use the standard handle because I have a hard time gripping it and it's not really heavy enough for me. So I will switch it out typically to a stainless steel handle. I like a little bit weightier handle. But for the sake of this review, I put its standard handle on. That's pretty good there. And in my opinion, while the knurling is absolutely gorgeous on here, it's just for looks. It does me absolutely no good for grip. So I definitely have the Allen block out at the ready for grip during this entire shave. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just gonna wet my fingers, rub it on the alum really good. Rub it on this handle so I can get really good grip so I don't accidentally drop it and it doesn't shift while I'm shaving. Okay, pass number 1. This razor scares a lot of people. And I think part of the reason why it scares it is an open comb. And the open comb is very extremely slanted here. So you get a little more blade feel than on a standard open comb because it just slips off so much. There's not a whole lot of blade exposure per se, but you can feel it nonetheless. So getting your angle right, especially on your against the grain pass, that's where it usually gets to people. And it will bite you. Now, some say there was a version out of this that was pre-2011, and I guess that version was much more aggressive than the post-2011. I would love to get my hands on a pre-2011, at least to try. So if anybody has a pre-2011 and would let me borrow it just to try it, I would love to do a comparison shave between the two. You get a fair amount of audio feedback with this razor. Not crazy. I don't think you get as much as with like the Future per se. or even the Rockwell. Got lather everywhere today, inside my ear. Excuse me. So I just really, because that audio feedback kind of lacks, really pay attention to the blade feel. Making sure I'm keeping as consistent of an angle as I can. Doing nice even strokes, just letting the razor do the work. It's not uncommon for me to get a weeper or two with this razor, just because I definitely don't use it enough. And it can be kind of particular on its angle, in my opinion. But even with how aggressive it is surprisingly smooth. Even for the blade feel that you get. And it is efficient. So just a little shake, that razor is completely cleaning out. That means that I got enough water in my lather and on the cube to where that razor is cleaning up. That's what you're looking for when you use the cube. And if you have the Cube 2.0, even with the old Cube, which I think was 4 ounces or 5 ounces, see a little weeper right there. This will bite you a little bit. Even with the old Cube, they'd last you for months and months and months. So play around with it. All right, wet the head for the second pass. Get a little drink here since I got the coughs. And go in and lather this wonderful lather for round 2. I have no doubt that if I use this razor more on a regular basis and got the angle down better, that I wouldn't nick or cut myself or get as many weepers as I do. But I seriously use this razor once every 3 months, once every 4 months even. So we'll just see if I can prevent enough damage where I can shave tomorrow. Definitely got some pink foam coming on that one spot. I have to use the alum block today. I don't think I've used alum for you guys on here, showing you how I do that either. Come to think of it. All right, I got this wonderful bowl of lather, so I might as well frost the top. Kind of digging this hashtag One Artist in October. It's reminding me to do things on videos that I've just kind of forgotten about, or that I take for granted, that maybe some of you don't know about, or maybe you do know about, but I do it a little differently, or give you a different idea. Look at all that pink foam. Old R41 bites again. See if we can keep the damage to just that. I'm going to add a little bit more alum. And go in for pass number 2 against the grain. Remember, when you're using an aggressive razor like this, especially an aggressive razor, just let that razor do the work. All your fingers are doing, or your hand is doing, is just driving the direction that it's going. A little bit better audio feedback on the against the grain pass, as to be expected. Just a crazy amount of slickness I have going today. Excuse me. Very nice. Very little feedback going on through here, through one of my troubled spots. Yeah, that spot's definitely going to use some alum today. Very close shave. Okay, that's past 2. I'm going to go ahead and rinse off with some cold water now. Little touch up right here. Plenty of slickness is left over from the soap and the cube. There we go. Okay, while my head's still wet, I just wet my alum block, and I'm just going to rub it around my head. If you get any stinging, then we call that feedback. So far, pretty good. A little bit of stinging on the back of my neck. And a little bit of stinging where I bit myself right there. And I rubbed that really good. But for the most part, for not using this razor very often, pretty good shave. Pretty good shave. Alright, so now I'm just going to rinse off the alum block. And you want to make sure you dry off your alum really good, because the water will leave pitting in your alum block. Some people let the alum dry on their head and they'll just leave it on. I like to rinse it off. If I leave it on, it leaves my skin kind of dry and itchy feeling. So I'll leave it on for a second and then I'll get the rest of this lather off. And your head will be grippy, or your face will be a little grippy after that. Little alum in the eyes. Okay, finish off with a little bit of the matching First Line Shave Blue Splash. Oh, very nice. As you can see, it just closed that weeper right up, that alum. Didn't notice any other spots that I cut myself, so should be good to go for another shave tomorrow. All right, well, I hope some of this information helped you guys out today. I'll be bringing more spiffy things your way all month long and many more months to come. Hope you enjoyed this edition of RedBeard Shaves. And this is RedBeard out. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.